me.
Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast.
The podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
And now, your host, Dustin Jones.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. Thank you for your time. This is not Joe Daniels. I'm sorry to let you down. This is Dustin Jones, and I'm going to interrupt your regularly scheduled shorts program to give you a very special announcement that we have a sponsor. That is right. Great Seminars and Books, the company created by Dr. Carol Lewis, the living legend physical therapist. She was recently on the podcast. I'll link to that interview in the show notes, but she has decided to become a sponsor of this podcast. So what that entails, it is 30-second ads before and after each episode, some social media posts featured on the website, in the newsletter, and basically teaming up to try and push the needle forward for geriatric rehab, which she has already been doing, for as long as she's been a physical therapist. But I wanted to actually just give her the opportunity to tell you all why she is sponsoring the Senior Rehab Podcast, as well as Mandy Chamberlain's Seniors Flourish. Carol Lewis, how are we doing?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing better than I deserve. Actually, I'm doing really well because I went for another run to the donut shop, actually. Up the street.
You're killing me.
I did. So I wanted to have you on super quick just to give the Senior Rehab Project group, the movement, a chance to hear your intentions behind sponsoring the Senior Rehab Podcast, as well as Mandy Chamberlain's Seniors Flourish. They already know kind of the details. I'm going to lay that out ahead of time in an episode that this will air on as well. But I just wanted to give you the chance to speak to them. So I'll first ask, why sponsor the Senior Rehab Project, and in specific, the Senior Rehab Podcast and Seniors Flourish?
Well, I love the idea of you grabbing people and getting good information out there to therapists in sort of digestible chunks so they can really understand what's going on. And I kind of, was thinking this would be a good complement because, our live courses are long. They really want to get people out there feeling like that they are trained and they've upped their level in their clinical skills after going through a weekend course with us. So it's kind of a good match, getting you involved with us and vice versa so that we can share our teaching styles, our information. All of our courses have evidence behind them. I'm one of those people that I can't sit through a course where they don't tell you a reference and then they put Smith 2006 and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'll never find that reference. So we really we do back up everything with evidence, and all of my faculty are clinicians.
Yeah.
So, we don't want to hear stuff that's so far removed from what you do in the clinic that you can't use it. Mm-hmm. So, I feel good because people tell me, they really, I get these spontaneous emails that say, I want you to know I pull out your handout at least once a week in the office. And I'm like, that makes me feel so good. That people are using the information in the clinic. So I think it's a good mix because you bring up some really great topics and ideas and leaders, and I think we fill in where there's more detail, so that people, and for me, my goal is to give better care, period. I love giving better care to older people, but I think if we start doing it with older people, we can really help the health of this nation, and it needs help.
Yeah, that's true. And I know the overarching goal, at least for the Senior Rehab Project, has been to advance care for older adults, and Great Seminars and Books has been doing that for years through your courses. So I think it does make sense. So your company is going to pay for ads. So, we're just going to do for, a certain period of time, before and after each episode, it's going to be an ad. I wish it could be an actual endorsement. So but I have to go to a class first, but I do want
you do have to come to one of my classes.
I know, frickin' weddings, they always get in the way, but I do have some endorsements that I wanted to read to you and let the listeners know that I know, will brighten up your day. So, through the discussion of sponsorship, I asked a question in the Facebook group, the Senior Rehab Project Facebook group. Has anyone taken a course from Great Seminars, Carol Lewis's company? How was your experience? And I want to read the following. So Jamie Lowy, he's a previous guest, said, I've taken 3 from her group. I think I mentioned one when you interviewed me for the podcast. It was taught by Dr. Stephen Tepper. Phenomenal course. Still one of the best courses I've ever taken. It was on rehab of common medical pathologies and went really in depth into chronic diseases, and also taught how to apply tests like 6-minute walk tests, go through to determine METs for a given functional activity. And he goes on from there. Rich Gaudio said, yep, Jerry, Ortho, Neuro, and Therex, Dementia, and several others prepping for my GCS back in 2002 to 2003. Got to even have lunch with Carol and get her best recommendations for studying for GCS. She is extremely knowledgeable, generous with her time, determined, and passionate about our senior population.
Oh,
and
you're going to make me cry.
I know. She was making geriatric PT sexy before anyone else ever thought such a thing. Great seminar instructors are top-notch, I suppose, because of the precedent set by Dr. Lewis. Jamie Lowy chimes in and said she's also a huge fan of the Rolling Stones. Is that true?
Yes, it is. That's how Dr. Tepper and I know each other.
Yeah. Alyssa Curry, one of your instructors, also had amazing things to say. And then I want to end with Rachel Walton-Mao down in Georgia. She's a guest on the show as well. She said, I had always known Carol Lewis's name in the PT world, but honestly thought it was all hype until I went to her course a couple months ago. She is all that with a cherry on top. Absolutely incredible.
Wow. I got goosebumps.
I know. So, I mean,
and my head can't fit through the door anymore.
Well, that speaks for itself. So, I think, you've got quite the reputation. The company does as well. So what can you do for the listeners of this podcast as well, as the listeners of Seniors Flourish? Is there something that you can do for them?
Yes. We want to give a discount if they get the course through your website. And then the other thing we do is once they start to come to a course, we have a loyal learners program. So you can keep getting that discount. So it's a $25 discount. And then once you go to one course, you can get another $25 off. All right, until we're pretty much paying you to come to our courses. No, we don't go that low, but it's a way to kind of keep you able to come to more courses and cost you less. So yes, we want to give a discount, and hopefully you'll love the course and want to come back to others.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Carol, and thank you to your team, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for really being so into doing, the right thing and letting your listeners know, sort of what's going on here. So I really respect your integrity. Thank you.
All right, folks, there you go. If you go to seniorrehabproject.com/great, go there, pick a course out, and use the promo code SRP25. Once again, that's seniorrehabproject.com/great. And the promo code is SRP25. That'll be linked in the show notes, and you'll be hearing that more over the next few months. So a lot of you all are new listeners, so I wanted to kind of give you a background and just, kind of the thought process in bringing on sponsorship, which many of you all are probably thinking, okay, it doesn't matter, I could care less. But I know there's going to be a few of you that this could be alarming. It could be worrisome. Because I've felt that as well. See, I'm an avid podcast listener. I've listened to many podcasts that kind of started and they've grown, and then there's opportunity to make a little money from what used to be just something for fun, and it dramatically changed the culture of the show, the feeling of the show. A lot of interruptions with ads and whatnot, and I ultimately stopped listening to some of those podcasts, and I do not want to be that at all. So for some of you all that actually care, I'm going to give you kind of the background and just kind of the thought process. So this started off, as a hobby. I wanted to get some interaction with really smart clinicians that could help me do my job better, because I was doing home health. I was all by myself. I didn't have a lot of people I could really chime in with. Granted, they were there. It's just hard to communicate on a day-to-day basis with busy clinicians. So I started this podcast, which has opened up the door for me to talk to amazing clinicians and people, and it's grown. So now it's to the point where businesses are wanting to be featured on a podcast like this, which is very humbling for me. But also, I know it's a very it's an interesting situation. I need to be very careful with it, because many of you all have given hundreds of hours of your life over to me, to listening to this podcast, and that just blows my mind. But I know that there is a lot of trust that's built up, and I could lose that trust in an instant, and I do not want to do that. So I want to be very clear and transparent with where my head's at with all this stuff. So as this podcast has grown, it is shifted from a hobby more to a mission, if you will. This is not just a podcast. This is a group of motivated rehab clinicians that want to be better at what they do, but better serve their patients. Hundreds of people in the Facebook group, tens of thousands of downloads a month. Constant emails and interactions on social media. Like this is a thing that we have going on here. And I'm very driven to be able to give it the time and the financial resources it deserves to make sure we can have the biggest impact possible. And right now I'm kind of at my max, especially in terms of time, with also, working as a staff clinician, and then finances as well. And so when a lot of podcasts get to this point, there's a few directions that they can go. So first one, and I'm mainly going to talk about finances, is that they'll try and sell you products, whether it's educational courses or like a mentorship program, or whatever, just kind of informational in nature. They'll sell you that, and that's all good if the person selling it to you is if he's actually has the credentials to do that, or has the knowledge and expertise to do so. I'm not that guy, obviously. If you listen to this podcast, I feel like I'm more of a facilitator and a connector than a content expert. So I'm not going to sell you informational products. I may try and push a t-shirt every now and then, but I'm not going to be selling the course. Another option is listener-supported podcasting. So that's where you, the listener, will give me, the creator, money, as just a token of thanks, and I will try and give more in return. And so I've done that with the Patreon campaign. So patreon.com/SRP is where you, the listener, can give me money in exchange for a stake in the show. I'm giving people the ability to give their input into what we do, and who we even take on as a sponsor. This sponsorship decision was not my decision. It was a decision from a group of people, the patrons of the show. There's also the monthly meetup where we get together and talk about how we can advance rehab for older adults. I feel like is my primary motivation. These people that have given their money, that want to be a part of this, that to me is super humbling, but that makes me very excited to see that there's people that believe in this. So those people, the patrons, that whole Patreon campaign, that's my biggest priority. And so the third option is sponsorship. So once podcasts get to a certain size, there's X thousands of people listening a month, businesses start to see that, and they want to get in front of those people, especially if they serve the same audience. And that's what we've done with Great. We have the same audience. It makes sense. But the big thing is the business has to serve the audience well. It would be very easy for me to just get some random, rehab business to sponsor this podcast that could potentially be crap. I don't have any better words there. But that they be willing to pay money to get in front of you all. And I don't want to do that. I want to partner with businesses that are going to give you a high quality product or service that will actually achieve the mission that we're trying to reach, which is to advance care for older adults. Great Seminars is that, I can't say that personally because I haven't been to a course, but there's people that I really respect in the Facebook group and patrons that have experience with GREAT, and so I believe their word. And so I'm viewing this as I'm going with kind of the listener supported revenue generation, which I'm going to continue to do, as well as very thoughtful, intentional sponsorship. I do not want to water down the content. I don't want to break it up either. So it's going to be before and after the episode. And also I'm going to be sharing the revenue with Joe Daniels as well, because he's helping me out with shorts. So if any of you all were wondering, no, he is not doing free labor. He's going to get paid as well for his hard work and awesome job that he's doing. So that's kind of, I guess, my thought process. If you are concerned or worried or have any feedback, let me know. Go to seniorrehabproject.com, go to the contact page, or just hit me up in the Facebook group, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I think I'm doing this in an ethical, thoughtful manner. So I just wanted to be as detailed as possible. I know we're going on 15 minutes now, which is probably overkill, but I just really want to be transparent with this whole process and to maintain your trust. So without further ado, I'm going to play the ad that will be aired, and I thank you for being a listener. I thank you for sharing this podcast, and I thank you for being a part of this movement that has just grown beyond my imagination. I appreciate it. The Senior Rehab Podcast is sponsored by GREAT Seminars and Books. If you need high-quality geriatric con ed that's worth your time and money, check out GREAT. Owned by the living legend Carol Lewis, GREAT offers courses and products created by recognized leaders in geriatrics. Learn the most effective techniques for diagnosing and treating your patients. Just go to seniorrehabproject.com/GREAT and get $25 off by using the code SRP25. The show is also sponsored by you, the listener. Go to seniorrehabproject.com/join to find out how you can help steer the direction of this movement and join our monthly meetup. Once again, that is seniorrehabproject.com/join.